Hello everyone, this is Satya Prakash. Welcome to my channel. This is part 12 of Web API. In this video, I'll discuss what is put method in ASP.NET Web API. So before going through this part 12, please visit my part 11 of Web API, that is how to delete method in ASP.NET Web API using Entity Framework, and how to manage status code in ASP.NET Web API for get and post method. So here I'll go to my presentation. So in this video I'll tell you how to update the record from SQL Server using put method and working on status code for put method. So put method allows us to update an item. So understanding the put method implementation, you need to understand the post and delete method, which I already have discussed in my previous videos. Alright, so guys, I'll implement the code in our employee controller for put method. So the code is okay, so public, and return type is void, and the method is put, and inside I will pass the parameter that is int id, and the from body, right here it is from body, I need to pass as a parameter as well to update the employee object details. Okay, so here what I'll do inside the method, okay, I'll type some XML comments for that HTTP put bar, and that is update employee details. Okay, update employee details based on ID, and here I'll type that parameter name is employee ID. Okay, so inside I will type some functionality of that particular method. So what it is I need to connection to my DB, that is SQL Server. How to do it? Using the entities during creation of entity framework, that is SatyaDB entities. So I'll just copy this one. Okay, so here, yeah, it is already, I copied this one for a connection to the DB, and inside the body of it I'll type here, I'll declare a variable called entity, and inside I will assign some entities, right? Entities dot employee dates and dot first or default. Okay, so this first or default, I'll pass some, that is lambda expressions, that is e such that e dot id that is equal to id, it is the passed as a parameter here, right? So it is allows the user to pass the id, and against that id we need to update the employee details. Okay, that is first name, last name, and gender and salary. So here entity dot first name equal to employee date, right? Employee date, it is the object. So I'll update the first name. Okay, so same way we need to update the last name, gender, and salary. So guys, here I need to get the last name, and here I'll mention here last name as well. Okay, and here is gender, entity dot gender, and I need to get the employee date gender from employee date, and the property, and here last one is salary, and here I'll mention the employee date dot salary. Okay, so this left hand side, whatever entities we have passed, this is coming from that entity because it's assigned to employee dates first or default, so it will return the first element of a sequence. Okay, and these things are coming from the object parameter, that is you have assigned an employee date, so we need to, based on that ID, we'll update these details. And after then I need to update my changes or save my changes. So entities, okay, here what I'll do is entities dot save changes. Okay, so, okay, all right, so it is done. That is the code for put method to update the employee details. So guys, I will tell you what I've done here is we want to update the employee by ID, right? So here I pass two parameters based on ID. We need to update the employee details. So this is inside the employee's controller. So notice the ID of the employee that we want to update and the employee object with which we want to update are being passed as a parameter here to the put method, right? And employee parameter is decorated with the form body, right? Okay, so form body is the attribute, and this tells the web API to get the employee data from the request body. So what I'll do after these changes, I'll go to my solution, right click on it and build the solution here and wait for some time until it succeeded, and after then I'll go for the next step. So guys, here build is succeeded and I'll run my project. So guys, here I'll type here API and employee and copy this URL, and I'll go to Fiddler to issue a put request. So here I need to close this unnecessary URLs. So here I select here as put method and type my URL, and here what I'll do is I'll set my content type, that is JSON, right? So content hyphen type application forward slash JSON. All right, so content hyphen type colon application forward slash JSON. So this tells that we are sending JSON formatted data to the server. So in a request body, I will include the employee date objects which we want to update, right? So based on the ID we want to update. So I'll go to my SQL Server. So this is the table name and this is the data we have found in my table. So I need to update the ID 16, right? So this is first name was Satyaprakash, last name is Samantrai, gender male, and salary is 12,000. So I'll mention here ID is 16, and here I'll do is I need to update to Satya 1, and last name is Prakash 1. Okay, so this last name, it is Prakash 1 is here, its value. Okay, Prakash 1, and I make here gender male and salary is 13,000. all right, I need to update this one against the ID 16, right? Here I'll before that I need to remove and I'll exit. So guys, here I'll get, right, so click this one. So I have got this response header is no content, and I'll go to my JSON. You can see this data is already have updated as expected, right, based using the 16 ID. So that I got the response here as 204 no content in the response header. That means my data is updated successfully. So if I'll go to my SQL Server and execute this one, I got is on ID 16 my data is updated to Satya1 for first name, last name is updated to Prakash1, gender is male, and salary is updated to 13,000, right? Okay, now what I'll tell you is I'll check the invalid data which is not there actually. So I'll update here 160, which is this ID is not present in our SQL Server DB here, right? So what I'll do is I need to execute here. So it is in debug mode, so that it will show as an null reference exception. You can see, right? This because object reference is not set to an instance of an object. That means ID is not found. So I'll click here, continue. I got one 500 internal server error status code, right? So click this one. I got a response header 500 internal server error. If I'll go to JSON, it will show this message, that is exception message object reference is not set to an instance of an object. Exception type is system.null reference exceptions. Message is an error occurred, and stack trace is you can trace the error, that is 114 line code, and got this error, right? Whatever lambda expressions we have found, we have got it. That means on that ID 160 is not found, so that we cannot update this object of the employees. Okay, so how to fix it? So guys, here the problem here is that is the return type of put method is void. So we get the status code of 204 no content when the update is successful. So we want to return the status code 200 OK, indicating that the update is successful. Also, when we try to update an employee whose ID does not exist, we get back HTTP status code 500 internal server error. So we get the status code 500 because of null reference exceptions. So to fix both of these issues, we need to modify the code in put method, right? So what I'll do is I already have the I need to stop the debugging here. So I'll go to my code. You can see this is the put method code to fix the issues. So I copy these things, go to my this code, and I need to replace this one. All right. Okay, so here so employee date, you can see we need to update here is as employee date. So we need to update here as employee date here. Okay, so after these changes, I'll tell you what I have done here is here for put method it was void the return type. Here it is mentioned as HTTP response message, that is okay. So this is help us to modify the status code as per our expectations. So same things, we have passed the two parameters ID. One is employee objects, and inside try block I have check the connection string, and inside I declare a variable entity, and we have some lambda expressions to get the ID. If the return entity is null, then we'll get the status code that with that is 404, and along with we get one message that employee with ID and the ID name is not found to update. If entity is not null, then we'll get this else code, that is based on the ID we need to update the employee object, right? First name, last name, gender, and salary. And after then it will save us the changes whatever we have done in our request body. And after then we'll get the status code that is updated successful. So we'll get the response code is 200 OK. Alright, so if you'll get any exceptions like database is not found, then you will get one bad request for it. I already have discussed inside the status code bad request, which is mentioned inside catch block in my previous videos. So this is the code to fix the issues of status code for updating a record, and if the ID does not exist during update the record. Okay guys, so what I'll do is I'll build my solution. So my build is succeeded. After then I'll go to run my project here. So guys, here I got my homepage of the default homepage of my web API. So I'll map to that is Swagger UI index. Alright, so I'll check here first the response what is we'll get here. After then I'll check here using our fiddler. Okay, I'll check here first in the fiddler, then I'll check here in the Swagger part. Okay guys, so last time we have updated the 16 ID, that is Satya1, Prakash1, is first name Satya1, last name Prakash1, and gender is male and salary is 13,000. Here I'll update some different data here, that is Mohsin, and last name is there is Mohanty, and gender is female and salary is 14,000. Alright, so I need to update this data based on ID. So earlier this data is there, but I want to update the data for ID 16. It is this one, right? Okay, so before execute I just remove this URLs and I'll execute again. Okay, so guys, I can see I got the status code 200. Okay, that means my update is successful. So click this one. So in the response header I got the response is 200. Okay, so that means update is successful, right? Here is the JSON data. I'll go to JSON tab and I can see my first name is updated to Mohsin, gender is female, ID based on ID 16, last name is Mohanty, and salary is 14,000. Okay, you'll check here using our SQL Server, and this ID is updated successfully. That is first name Mohsin, last name is Mohanty, gender is female, salary is 14,000. Alright, so here what I'll do is I'll check the same response which ID is not there. Okay, so I need to update ID 160 which is not present in our DB. So I'll click here execute. I got the response 404, right? Here I got. So that means 404 not found. In the response header I go to JSON, I can see the message employee with ID 160 not found to update. Alright, so same thing I need to check in our Swagger. So I expand this employee controller. I can see the put method here. I can see the XML comments, update employee details based on ID. Click this one and is expand, and after then I need to update here ID 16. I click here. I need to remove the ID because ID is not required to update. I need to here is bill strong, and here is gender is male. Okay, so and salary is 23,000. Alright, so for ID 16 I need to update the data. Okay, so last time I have updated the records is this one, but currently I want to update the records to this one of ID 16. and by default the content type is selected here as application /JSON. After then I click here try it out. So guys, here I can see in request body this data is updated, right, and I got the response code is 200. Alright, and I'll go to my SQL Server, execute this select statement. I can see in ID 16 data is updated. The first name is Bill, last name is Strong, gender is male, salary is 23,000. Okay, I'll check here the which ID is not there in our DB. So I'll click here 167. Alright, so which this ID is not present in our DB, so we'll check what the response we'll get here. So click on try it out. So guys, here I can see response body is employee with ID 167 not found to update, and the got a response code is 404, right? So in this way we can implement the put method for update the records and manage the status code for whose ID is present and for whose ID is not present. Okay, I'll go to my before that I need to stop the debugging. Okay, I'll go to here my presentation here. So here status code for put method, when the update is successful, we'll get the status code 200 okay instead of 204 no content, and when the ID of the employee that we want to update does not exist, then the status code should be 404 not found instead of 500 internal server error. So this is my YouTube channel. Subscribe and share it to get the updated knowledge on .NET Core, C#, SQL Server, GitHub, DevOps, and Angular. So in this video what we have learned today is how to update the records from SQL Server using put method and working on status code for put method. That means if the status code is 200 okay, then the update the employee is successful. If when we try to update an employee whose ID does not exist, then we will get a status code 404 not found instead of 500 internal server error, right? So that's all about today guys. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.